We've got one of the councillors that had to Zoom in here tonight. Are you able to hear me better now with the mics on?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. Okay, and I'm going to put my mic up closer to the computer so they may be able to hear you talking too.
Okay.
So if we could have a motion to adopt the agenda, but I think we have, are you going to do it as amended? I think we have an addition.
What would be the addition?
I move that council adopt the agenda as amended.
I think administration had a,
What's the amendment?
you guys had an addition?
Yes, so administration has one, and then Councillor Williams has one as well. So administration would be to add item 7.10, which is a request for a letter of support from the Chamber of Commerce. And then Councillor Williams, has reached out and requested to add item 12.4, political engagement is covered under Section 21 of the FOIP Act.
Were you hear that, Joyce? Joyce?
Sorry, no, I didn't.
Okay, so
Didn't you have a quorum? Sorry.
the adoption of the agenda as amended, two items were added. One was a letter of support, 7.10, and Councillor Williams has asked for 12.4 and even close, which is a political engagement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So are there any questions? If there's no questions, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? And Joyce, are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay, carried. And we have no delegations tonight, so we would move on to the adoption of the minutes. And I would need a motion there. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that council move to adopt the June 28, 2022 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Are there any questions or concerns? Okay, then I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Joyce, were you in favor?
Yeah.
Carried. We have no public hearings, so we can move on to bylaws and policies. And the first one is 6.1, which is a heavy vehicle truck route. And we can have a motion, or we can hear from administration first, the background information on this. Or does someone want to make a motion? Okay, then we'll hear from administration if we can.
Sure. So we brought this just to get it on the docket before summer. There's a few things that are related to this that we're working on, and so this is kind of timely that we'd like to get this rolling as well. One of the things we're working on, obviously, is issues with AT and the intersection and the congestion there, the growing congestion. And so one of the things that's adding to that is the heavy trucks that use that road. And so this is kind of a step to help regulate that and move the heavy trucks that use that don't need to be using that. They can get to where they need to go through alternative routes. And so that will help alleviate and provide assistance in other conversations that we're having right now with regards to that intersection and the issues that are caused with that intersection with the highway and the engagement that we're having with AT right now. As well as related to that is one thing that is on the agenda tonight is the continual breakdown of that strip of roadway on 23rd there, just past the Bilo, and that, all those heavy trucks are making it harder to keep that up. And if we're gonna, now obviously, council will make a decision as to what to do about that proposal, but whatever we end up doing with that strip, if we're gonna do it, what will help it maintain it better and have more life to whatever we end up doing there is, again, if we lessen the heavy truck traffic that goes over that strip of road. So this is coming as kind of part and related to a whole bunch of other issues that we're working on that we think will help us and provide that relief. And so this is what we've brought for first reading to get it on the docket, and then we look forward to the policy committee helping to kind of fine tune it and work it through the next couple of readings.
So are there any questions? Councillor Moore?
Sorry, I still hit my mic on. I guess probably I'm not concerned about the AltaGas propane transfer site, but more the Waste Commission being that road and our partners in the Waste Commission. Will we be talking with them about alternate routes, and do we have one that isn't going to create another issue? Don't want to go deep into this. I'm just wondering if we might need to talk to some of them or give them notice or heads up or something like that ahead of time.
Yes, thank you for that. A couple of things to answer that question. We do plan, as noted in the RFD, during the summer to do a bit of an educational process with our peace officers to help bring awareness to this and what we're working on for the coming future. We'd basically like and maybe, Craig, do you want to speak to kind of where we'd like those heavy trucks to go?
Yeah, so the idea here is to try and move the traffic that accesses the landfill further to the west to the next available township road, which is 24, and then they can go north and hit the same range road. Nope, it'd be a range road out there. So it's a range road that goes north and south, so it'll be the next range road. And then they can head north and hit the township road and come back west. So that's if they're accessing it from coming from the west through town, heading west through town, going up 23rd. They just keep on going until they get out to the next gravel road, head north. And then anybody coming from the north will be able to come in across the spur line and then hit.
She must be listening.
And then head to the west and then get to the landfill or AltaGas for that matter.
Councillor Bass McKenna, sorry, a question first, and then we'll get back to.
Thank you for remembering me. My name, I'm just kidding. A couple of things I have on this. One is we effectively have two main accesses, three actually. We have 582 coming from the west. We've got 20th to 582 coming from the east. And we have an awful lot of traffic coming north and south on 23rd. I have a problem with the reluctance to allow trucks on that particular stretch of road. It is heavily used by everybody. And as far as the waste management, is that going to end up costing us money? Because if they have to do that route around with the cost of fuel and everything else, are we going to be charged a surcharge on that type of delivery service? So those are the concerns that I have on that particular change. Thank you.
Councillor Moore?
23rd when it's being used for any kind of trucks, I found when I was on the AUMA and then to the Travis Committee, which is the Alberta Transportation, whatever, heavy traffic, they should be paying us for using 23rd and they don't. And 23rd is not a truck route. And you were just saying they'd come up 23rd, it wouldn't be the heavy trucks, it would, and regular traffic could still use 23rd and out to the back road. We're only talking about the heaviest trucks, right, above a certain limit. And they should be paying us for using that road rather than us paying them. We can have load limits on roads like anybody else can, and I do think we need to do that because that road was never built for the kind of traffic that it's getting right now, the heavy traffic. So I like that we're finding a solution. I appreciate that. I think that we've got a ways to go, and I appreciate that it needs to do a few more rounds yet. But when we're done here, I would make the motion once the others have spoken.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Ingo. I'm wondering how realistic this is to think that we're going to have vehicles stop using that road when they've been using it for years and years and years. Even our own waste disposal, I think that's going to have a contracting implication probably. And I foresee this, I'm not sure how you police it, that we're going to have somebody stationed there 24 hours a day for people who come in the middle of the night and are moving product in the middle of the night. So I'm just not sure how practical this is. And I also kind of agree a little bit about the Travis study, because there should have been some compensation from some of these companies who use these. The other question I would have, or the main question I would have, is who have we talked to about this? Have we talked to the Waste Commission? Have we talked to the county? Because they're going to be ticked. Have we talked to anybody else outside our partners that are going to be impacted by this change? I see this being a significant change, and I don't think it's going to be well received by our neighbors.
Councillor Baswick, and then Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The other two things is, number one, the road going north, 23rd, when you cross the tracks, that road is thoroughly capable of carrying heavy vehicles. They've been doing it for a long time without any breakup issues. So we could probably fix the rest of the road so it matches the northern part of that particular highway. The second thing I'm concerned is, as Councillor Windsor indicated, have we talked to the county, because we're going to beat the heck out of that road, that other range road going north, for them to skirt around. So I'm hopeful that they've been informed of our intention in that reference. Those are the 2 points.
Councillor Williams?
Thank you. To carry on what Councillor Windsor just said, have we talked to the local businesses that are going to be impacted by this change? We have a grocery store on that road. No? Well, it says here, we'll limit the number of heavy trucks to local users. Train or field and shop commercial product deliveries.
They will limit them to local users, so they still can, sorry.
Mr. Gorder?
Yeah, I can speak to a number of the comments that have been made. So again, the intention of this is to do something there because we're engaged with AT right now because we've got a major problem with that intersection and there's too much traffic using 23rd right now. Or at least we've got some issues there that we're trying to, and with regards to traffic planning, you want to have your heavy trucks always not taking the major kind of places that are busy with residential users that are accessing businesses and things. You want to make the trucks kind of go around. We have had some initial conversations with AT about this. They're thrilled about this as a concept. In concept, they're thrilled. They think it's a good idea. With regards to the question as to the local, this wouldn't affect the trucks that need to get to bylaw or need to get to the pet store or wherever. The bylaw has allowance for those serving within those businesses. With regards to enforcement, again, it's like speeding. Yes, you won't get every speeder, but you can get some speeders. And then once enough people get tickets, the word starts to spread that that's not the way to go. But we'd obviously do a major educational program ahead of time to make sure that people are aware of it. Technically, so the old traffic bylaw that's still in place, dating back to 05, I believe it is, technically that they shouldn't be using that road as is, and so we want to bring awareness to that. I do have a number of colleagues that work in other municipalities where they enforce their truck routes just fine. It takes a bit of educational process to get the word out to make sure they understand it. But then people start to, it does become necessary if you're going to protect. I mean, again, it's at council's discretion. No council can weigh the interest in this. It's protecting. If they're going to invest money in upgrading the quality of the road on that, then it's advised that you might want to protect that interest as well as alleviating some of the congestion that goes on that intersection while we're working with HE to try to figure out the issues related to that. With regards to, now let me think, I think that's, and with regards to, thank you, Councillor Azar, the engagement of the county and businesses and others affected by that, we wouldn't undertake any of that until we know council's even interested in starting to go down this path, and hence we wanted to put this on the docket, because if it gets put on the docket, then we know that council's interested in looking at this. But we wouldn't do any of that engagement until we at least have that direction. Because if council isn't interested in going down this at all, then we're not going to engage about something that council doesn't have an interest in. So the reason we brought this for first reading is to test council's interest in the concept of it. But this is by no means a proposal for the finished product. But we would definitely engage with all of those groups as we go through this process.
Thank you, Ethan. Councillor Baswick.
Thank you, sir. Just quickly, having heard that Alberta Transportation is interested in the concept, have any discussions gone on with that with reference to mitigating the intersection of Highway 582 and 23rd going north? Was that included in the conversation?
Yes, very much so. We're involved in some very important discussions going on right now about that intersection.
So yeah, I would like to just add that I'm excited about getting this on the docket, getting it to the committee so that these concerns can be raised and maybe even a different idea can come out of that. I think it's paramount that we get it there and start those discussions. Okay, we'll take a motion.
I move that council grant first reading to heavy vehicles truck route bylaw 2022-11 and that it be referred to the Policy and Governance Committee for review and recommendation.
So is there any more questions? And I'll call the vote. All in favor? All opposed?
And Joyce, what were you voting? Joyce, I have to apologize. I have to call you Councillor McCoy It comes up Joyce on my screen, and that's why I keep saying that, so I apologize for the name call. I don't know if you're responding, Councilor McCoy? Yeah.
I'm watching it on YouTube and it's your minutes, okay?
Yeah.
You speaking is way off of YouTube. So, yeah, I'm just listening.
Okay.
I think if you want to speak on my behalf, I would say that I'm in full support of this.
Okay.
And that I would see, if anything, that there be like a levy or something like service. You know, I don't know what you call it, but like a toll to use that road. And so the toll in itself pays for the road to be super heavy duty.
Yeah, and I think that,
Over time.
okay, and that was one of the points brought up, so I would take it then that you voted in favor of moving forward, getting it to committee and on the docket? Okay. Okay,
Totally.
thank you. So that was carried?
I'm still listening to Ethan talk about it.
Yeah, I can hear it coming through your computer, so.
And I don't know why they can't get Zoom to work like through your speakers so you can hear me.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay. So I got to get you to mute again because Ethan is coming through on my computer too. Thank you. Okay, under bylaws and policies, on to 6.2, Council Professional Development Policy COUN 001-22. Do we have anyone from the committee that would like to speak on that? Councillor Moore?
Sorry, I shouldn't have made the other motions, I guess. I chair that committee, so I would just like to express my appreciation to the committee members. These two that are coming before us today were not easy, but we battled through it, and I'm very pleased and happy to bring these forward. The professional development policy, I move that council approve the council professional development policy COUN 001-22 as presented.
Are there any questions? Well, then I will call the vote. All in favor?
Are you in favor of that, Joyce?
Sorry, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's carried.
And that council rescind council professional development policy COUN 001-21.
Are there any questions? And I'll call the vote. All in favor? And you're in favor, Joyce? Ms. Councillor McCoy?
Yes, and Joyce is fine. It's so confusing on the phone.
Thank you. So that's carried. Under bylaws and policies, 6.3, Council Remuneration Policy, COUN 004-22. Would the chair like to speak to that?
I'll just speak to it, saying that this was a difficult one, and I believe that Councillor Windsor has a small amendment and also something to speak to it, so I'm going to pass it to him to make the motion.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I will move that council approve the council remuneration policy COUN 004-22 as amended.
Okay, so, Councillor Baswick has a question?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. The only thing I'd like to look at, without sounding greedy, is that I would like included in this something to the effect of, well, simply put, I don't want to get prepped. In other words, prepare for a meeting, get dressed, drive to the meeting. It has to be, from my point of view, a minimum of an hour service. Otherwise, it's just a wasted effort for someone to attend a meeting for whatever it is, $15 or something. It's just not practical to me. So that's my concern, and if it's looked at, fine. If not, that'll be fine too.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. The one amendment I would like to make is in 2.5, where it talks about, in addition to the honorarium, council members will be compensated for attendance at, and I'd like to insert in there, council workshops and committee meetings. I think it's important that we clarify that to make sure that that's crystal clear as to what exactly we're talking about in that particular clause.
Sorry, Councilor, what number is that?
2.5.
And
If I can, a friendly amendment to that, making the attendance charged out a minimum of an hour, if that fits in that 2.5.
We didn't discuss that at the council, at the committee level. Would have been our impression that any meeting that we're going to have is going to be, other than maybe MPC, is going to be at least a half an hour. I'm not prepared to do that. We didn't discuss that in our meeting. So yeah.
Councillor Moore?
Could I ask what the amendment is? I found it now, and I don't know what word you're adding or taking out or whatever.
Councillor Moore, I'm just adding the word council in front of workshops and committee meetings to clarify that it's council workshops and council committee meetings.
Oh, so you're adding council in front of each?
In front of the sequence.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that. But I think we do need to vote on the other amendment too, if it's being brought forward in another motion. So we need to vote on this amended. No, you should tell us the order of these things.
Yeah. What I'd recommend by way of process is that Councillor Windsor's motion be that that be considered, so to consider the policy as amended, which was what Councillor Windsor moved, vote on that, and then consider Councillor Baswick's recommended updated amendment as well, but do it as a separate matter after the initial one.
So before we get to that, I just had a quick question on the remuneration. I see that the deputy mayor gets paid $10 less than a councillor. And is there a reason for that?
It's a typo.
Yeah, is that just a typo? Because it's in both spots at $13.59 and the councillor gets $13.69. So.
It's a demotion.
That's the whole.
However, that was supposed to be prior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep it up, we'll make it work.
So that was just my question. In both areas, it's down as $13.59. I didn't know if that was a typo. And secondly, I guess, sort of going along with what Councillor Baswick was saying, if you're going to a meeting that's only a half an hour, and you have driving time there and back, does that not put you closer to an hour? Like, it's not covered in town. Okay, sorry. Okay. Are there any more questions? We have Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I just want to comment about this because we hammered this. We had a lot of work on this. And we tried to do two things. We tried to simplify it as much as possible and make it as concise as possible. And we tried to reduce red tape as much as we possibly could. In addition to what you're seeing here, and is going to come out probably in the meeting in late August, is a revised remuneration form that's going to be a one-page form, far simpler than what we're doing right now. And it just, we had too many changes to it to bring it to this council meeting, but I anticipate it'll be coming to the end of August. So you could look forward to that. And that's again, to try to simplify things, not only for council filling it out, but for the scrutineers looking at it, as well as administration having to deal with it in the end.
Councillor Baswick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In reference to what Councillor Windsor said, if that's the case, if he would consider my suggestion in that update in August, I'd appreciate it. And I won't make a motion here at this point. Thank you.
Okay, then with
Oh, Councillor Windsor, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Part of the thing that we were trying to do here, and one of my major concerns when we were looking at this, is to try to make it so that it was clear as to what was claimable and what wasn't. And I think it's important that for me, it was really important that the make it as easy as possible for the scrutineers that are going to be looking at these timesheets, so that it wasn't a whole mess of trying to determine whether this was claimable or that was claimable or whatever. We tried to make the wording so that it cleared that right up. But this is also a living document, that if we find that something like what Councillor Baswick is talking about, or other things come up that this doesn't address and isn't clear enough, we'll revisit it. And so it's a living document. It's something that we can revisit as often as is needed in order to make it work the way it's supposed to work.
So, yeah, I would like to thank the committee for the work they did on this. I think it's really good. I also agree with what Councillor Baswick is saying at a different date. I think that needs to be looked at. I don't, unfortunately, have any meetings that are only a half an hour, and so I don't face that issue, but I do understand that we may not get paid for travel time in Didsbury, and we shouldn't be expected. There's still a time associated with that, getting to it and whatever, and I sort of agree with him on that, but I think we can call the vote on the motion, and all in favor? And were you in favor, Councillor McCoy?
Sorry, yes.
Okay, thank you. So that is carried. Oh, sorry, Councillor Windsor.
And so I'll also move that council rescind council remuneration policy count 004-21.
Are there any questions? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? Can't do all opposed, but are you in favor? You're in favor? Thank you. That is carried.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Just if we could just seek some further guidance from council on this. So as you know, what we'd like is some direction on, do you want, so council's already received compensation over the last few months under the old policy. Is there a date you want to make this applicable to, or do you want us to go and do back pay? So that's what we'd like some direction on as to, by way of.
Retro to 2012.
Well, that would affect a lot of people that are homeowners. Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. Ethan, do you want that included in the motion then to have an effect, or like I think our intention was that it would take effect as we approved it, and go forward now with this, and so that was I think our intention
So kind of as
at
of
the
this
policy committee when we were bringing it forward to council.
So if I could maybe just recommend just an additional motion that clarifies that this updated policy will be in effect commencing July 2022.
How about August 1st instead of having half a month or?
Well, what I mean by July is because then when you all put in at the end of the month, because you don't do it, so it's fine to do all of July because you haven't put them in yet, and so you do that at the end of the month. So if we say commencing July 22, we'll do it for the whole month.
So I'll make that motion. What he said.
Okay. Any more questions? I'll call the vote then. All in favor? And Councillor McCoy, are you in favor? Thank you. That's carried. On to business, 7.1, a 2022 concrete repair and maintenance award. I think that we'll have probably administration speak to that.
Sorry, and if I could.
Yes.
Sorry, before we, it just was a little uncertain with regards to Councillor Baswick's idea that he wanted council to consider. It was going to be considered after, and then there was some conversation, and Councillor Baswick said he wanted the committee to consider it. So maybe if Councillor Baswick is, instead of having it considered now by council, if he's happy for the committee to simply consider that as an idea, then maybe what I'd recommend is Councillor Baswick make a motion that the concept of a minimum meeting amount be referred to the committee for their consideration.
Sure, just like that.
Okay, so we've got a motion from Councillor Baswick on the table. Are there any questions?
See, Bill and I already agreed, but
Then I will call the vote. All in favor? And Councillor McCoy, are you in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. Now on to business 7.1. And I think we can make a motion or we can have administration, I think probably for our input, we should hear administration and then make our motion.
And I'll have Craig just give kind of just a brief summary overview of this.
Sure, thanks. So every year we go through with the operating budget and seek out segments of sidewalk and concrete and gutter and separate sidewalks and flat work that are in need of repair or replacement. This year in the spring, we went out to market through the paper and online and sought qualified contractors to submit their HSC documents, so health, safety, and environmental quality assurance documentation for our review. We received 3 contractors' packages of information, which put them on a list of qualified bidders. So when the project came up for consideration, we sent the information to the 3 contractors and asked them to bid on it. We were looking for contractors to bid the full scope of services, which includes topsoil repair and remediation after the repairs were completed, as well as removal and disposal of all the waste materials that came out of the sites. One of the contractors chose not to bid the asphalt repair part of the scope, which disqualified them from the bidding process. So that left us with 2 contractors who met the criteria of the scope that we were looking to achieve. One was Olds Concrete, out of Olds, obviously, and Ruby Rock. As you can see from the table, there's a little bit of discrepancy between the 2 bidders, but the price was reasonably close, which meant that they both understood the scope of work that we were expecting. So the lowest compliant bid is Olds Concrete. So notably, for them, with respect to the concrete infrastructure replacement, we have an $80,000 operating budget for that kind of work. They came in at $60,000, $258,968 for that scope of work, which means that we have approximately $19,000 left on the table to go and look at more sidewalk repairs to be completed, and there's no end in the list for that. So I'm looking forward to maximizing that as best we can because we do have pretty good unit rates. And then the total was 106,268.97, but that includes our sewer and water repairs that we've experienced over the last year. So as we go and we get in a residential concern with a curb stop or a sewer system that's blocked on our side, we do the asphalt removal and the concrete removal. Sometimes it's driveways, sometimes it's a little bit of sidewalk and such. So that scope of work comes in at $13,000 and $32,000 respectively for water and wastewater. So out of the total of $100,000 that we have for doing repairs in both, in the water budget, we still have $83,000 left, and $95,000 in wastewater, of which we have $84,000 left. So awarding this scope of work leaves us with enough money to plan forward for other water and wastewater digs that we have yet to do. And so we feel like we're in a pretty good position to award this scope of work.
So can we have a motion and then questions? Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I will move that council award the 2022 concrete repair and maintenance to Olds Concrete in the amount of $106,268.97.
Any questions? No questions, I will call the vote. All in favor? And Councillor McCoy, are you in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Our next point of business, 7.2, Christmas light plugins, 20th Ave. I think we probably should hear from administration on this as well before we have a motion.
Thanks. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is an issue that's kind of, the council approved on the recommendation of the Performance Evaluation Committee near the end of the term or last year, and then during the budget process. And then it's ended up becoming quite complicated with some things and our interactions with Fortis, as there were some difficulties that arise. And now some of the proposed way that Fortis wants to meet our interest in this is raising some concerns with what we feel will detract from the aesthetic and the attractiveness of our lights. It's enough to give us pause that we feel that some of these issues that have come up, that's why we're recommending that it go back to the committee, that we can kind of troubleshoot some of our concerns that we have and have the committee kind of wrestle with that and make a recommendation back to council. With regards to this project that we're kind of not feeling overly good about,
So is this something that when we're discussing the money that was awarded for this project, should that be sent back to the Economic Development Fund and until a decision is made?
Thank you for the question, and an excellent question. So those funds haven't been used yet because, again, the project hasn't been done yet. We haven't given Fortis the green light to go ahead yet because of some of the issues and concerns that have come up. So it's kind of on hold, and that's why we want to revisit it. So I don't know if we need a motion to send that back unless council was wanting to pull back entirely from the project. But at this point, we're recommending it go back to the committee, and so those funds are still in the Economic Development Reserve right now. That's if when the time comes that if everything can, if in the end these concerns can be sorted out and the committee can be satisfied with making a recommendation to proceed with that, council approves that, then those funds will be utilized at that time, but they're kind of still there, so there's nothing to put back.
Sorry, I took the first question there. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I'm confused here as to why it's being recommended to go back to the Performance Evaluation Committee. If you refer to the terms of reference, since this is infrastructure, and this is absolutely infrastructure, the Performance Evaluation Committee doesn't deal with infrastructure. The Strategic Planning Committee deals with infrastructure and finance. So I don't understand why this is going back to Performance Evaluation Committee. I realize it was there before, but I think that was probably not necessarily the right direction to go, and I think we need to correct that. It needs to go to the Strategic Planning Committee, because it falls under their terms of reference.
Ethan?
Thank you for the question. So the reason this is being recommended to go back to that committee, because that was the committee that made the recommendation, and the reason they made the recommendation and did the work on it was because that was part of their committee plan that was approved by council. So that work was specifically assigned to that committee by council, and so that's why we're recommending that the committee that did the work on it be the one that continued to do the work on it.
Councillor Baswick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The problem I have with this is that this was done, approved, funds were set aside, contract was issued to Fortis. I don't understand why. I don't expect an increase in the funding for this. I hope that doesn't come up. I'm expecting this thing, I was expecting this to be in progress and done, so that we'd have the lighting on 20th Avenue for this coming Christmas season. And it looks like it's not going to be, if we drag this out, it's not going to be done until 2026 or something. And this is just, we've had so many meetings on this thing, finally approved it, the funds are set aside. I'm really having a problem, and I'm bothered by any kind of a delay in this particular project. Now, if Fortis is bucking this thing through some contractual comment or component of the contract, then maybe we need to find someone who's going to expedite this thing and do it properly. I have no problem with that in a free enterprise world. If somebody does this kind of stuff, if it is a contract thing that they're bucking, you just diss them and get somebody who's willing to do it. This is going to go on for, well, we're not back in chambers until when? August, right? So, and the first meeting of this committee is probably September. And then you got to go back to Fortis. It's not going to happen this year. That's not acceptable to me. I'm sorry. You know, we've approved it, done. It can't be that complicated that we can't get this thing in works. That's my comment.
Councillor Moore?
Well, I think that the committee will understand it when they hear all of the implications of what the problems are. So I don't think that we can, without that information, make a different decision. So I would make the motion that council refer the Christmas street lights along 20th Avenue back to the Performance Evaluation Committee for review and recommendation. And you can have a meeting in between if you want to.
You can meet before the August meeting.
Do you see it? Do you see it happening?
I mean, you have to see if Craig's available.
My question, Deputy Mayor, is that with that comment, do you see a conclusion?
Well, maybe I'll just speak, if I could, Deputy Mayor. Just, I understand the frustration. Again, there's been a lot of moving parts here with Fortis, and but one of the things that gave us pause was that when they came back with their proposal, we felt that the way they wanted to do it was going to detract from the beautiful aesthetic of those streetlights along that street, and we didn't feel comfortable moving forward without making sure that some council review, committee review is part of that, because the way they've proposed to do it is doing some things to what we feel is one of the highlights of that 20th Street is those really attractive streetlights, and we don't want to detract from that. But if council in the end decides that they're fine and they don't feel it detracts from that aesthetic, that's fine. But that's why we'd like the committee to have a look at it and make a recommendation on whether they feel, and then bring it to council with that recommendation on whether they feel that's an acceptable detraction of the aesthetic. So.
Councillor Baswick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. With that comment, sir, are you convinced that if the committee comes back and accepts the status the way it is, do you expect them to go to work in a reasonable time frame, or are they going to wait until, say, November or something? Or December?
So with Fortis, we definitely don't dictate their construction schedules. You are kind of at their mercy. I do want to just sort of make one sort of point, though, around the timing of the installation. It doesn't change anything. We don't have Christmas lights to put on the lights. So even if the lights were, the plugins were installed before December, let's say, we wouldn't have anything to put up there.
Because this phase, remember, this proposal from the committee, if I may, Deputy Mayor, was to electrify the poles, and the light part was going to come later. So, and it just, who would have known that electrifying some, but I think it's because of the way that these poles are designed. It's turned out to be quite a difficult thing for Fortis. So,
Councillor Haswick?
No, I decline. I'm not going to drag this out. I'll just be quiet. Thank you.
Councillor Windsor?
Yeah, I'm not going to support this because I think it should be going to the Strategic Planning Committee. I don't think it should be going to the Performance Evaluation Committee. It's infrastructure.
I guess I would ask administration that if you don't support it, they move forward with it. And I don't know that we want to do that at this point. Because of the complications that administration is talking about. I have a concern as well. I don't want that downtown street changed. I would like it left the way it is and added some lighting to it. And I think when all the information comes out, that's a problem that we're facing with it. So, is my assumption correct?
yeah, that is correct. If council, but I mean, council can defeat this motion and pass another motion. So there's a couple things kind of in the air right now. But you're correct. If council doesn't want this reviewed and wants the project to go ahead, then it'll go ahead as designed, and we'll see what happens with those polls. With regards to the concern about which committee, obviously council always has supreme authority with regards to where they delegate their business to go. So if council doesn't want it to specifically go to this committee, as has been suggested by one councillor, then another motion can be made to send it to another committee. So I guess it depends on how everyone feels and how they'll vote on the proposal.
Councillor Haswick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think we can resolve this really quick. Instead of going to a committee meeting and delaying it, if you could explain briefly what are the aesthetic concerns that would precipitate the delay of this project?
Thank you for the question, and sure, yeah, we can go. So the pictures that you see attached to the agenda package following the RFD, the first picture you see, so we had Fortis come out and do a mock-up on a street light down by the hospital, because all we have available to us are the pre-welded on port just on the same side underneath the banner arm. That's the only spot that they have available to them to come out with a plug-in. And when they went out there and they installed the plug-in, it's a big gray box on the end of that nipple. That's what they call that little piece of pipe. Just sometimes you use words that are right, but anyways, I digress. So that the plug-in box itself interferes with the banner arms. So when the plug-in box is installed, the banners will have to be taken down until new banners can be ordered that are narrower. And so we've talked to community services who pretty much manages the banners in principle. There's no real challenge with changing the ratio, the aspect ratio on the pictures that we normally use to go with a narrower banner, but we'll have to get new banners for 20th Avenue to accommodate the reduced distance. And then once these plugins are installed and the banners are up, there's a good chance there's going to still be a conflict. As we plug things in, the banners are going to have to come down while things are plugged in, because the plugins will be longer from the plug-in box as well. So we did talk to Fortis about trying to do like wrap the plugins around to the back of the street light. They weren't in favor of that due to the number of pinch points as they went around with the number of elbows that they would have to add for pulling wire, as well as the cost would go up because the fittings would be more. So we did work with Fortis a lot on this project. I will tell you, we've had 6 or 7 meetings trying to figure out exactly what it was supposed to take. There's a number of pieces of sidewalk that got to come out, they got to core through the asphalt, a bunch of other things too. But in essence, the biggest problem that is difficult to proceed without further guidance is the fact that banners are going to have to come down when the Christmas lights are plugged in. The banners are going to have to be narrowed. We're going to have to buy new banners for this one. They'll be different than the ones downtown. So then we'll have 2 sets of banners that we're managing. Those are kind of the things that we would have talked about at committee. So it's not as easy as cut and dry.
Yes, I happen to have seen, surprisingly, I was driving along and I saw they installed one, obviously, to test it out. And I guess from my point of view, the banners are getting faded anyway. We're going to have to replace them. So we might as well make them narrow if we're going to replace the banners, because they are getting a little faded and some are getting a little loose. So they're a little floppy. They're not tight like they could be. That's not our fault. It's just the way it is. I'm sure that, like I know even in my own environment, boxes I put in are half that thickness. They don't have to be a full box. They can be half that size. They are available now, and I've got it. So I don't know. I didn't find a thing, other than the fact that I saw it was a gray box, I wouldn't even know it was there. So if you paint it black, you won't even know it. So I don't know. It's not that complicated to me, but it could be for others. From my point of view, I have no problem moving forward. I guess because we've been discussing this thing for almost 2 years or more. And the original came up probably 4 years ago. And we finally got to a conclusion, and now we're going to go another year perhaps. And as far as that we don't have Christmas lights, there was some discussion about a 3-way partnership with private enterprise, community, and maybe the town in order to get the lights. So that's still on the go, which is something that probably would be handed over through administration to our economic development.
Ethan?
So by way of process, because council's obviously wrestling with, do you send it to committee? Are they concerned about how it looks, but maybe, and that's why we wanted to bring it, because you're the better judge as to whether you feel it's an acceptable detraction of the aesthetic, or maybe it's like as Councillor Bazik said, maybe to you it's not a concern. So the motion on the floor from Councillor Moore is to move this to the committee. If you're not interested in it going to the committee, then you defeat that motion, and then Councillor Bazik can make a motion to proceed with the project as planned, and then we're away to the races. So those are really, it seems to us, that's the 2 things that you're deciding between.
Are there any other questions? I should ask Councillor McCoy too, if she's got a comment.
Councillor McCoy, do you have a comment on this? Did you have anything you wanted to comment on in regards to this, Councilor Dwight? You did? Okay, thank you.
So I guess we have a motion on the table. Councillor Winter?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I still think it should go to strategic planning, but it needs to go somewhere to look at this, because I think that the aesthetics of it, the problem with taking down and putting up banners and the complications that creates in order to plug in anything that we might have down the road, I think that it has to go somewhere for a committee to really look at this seriously and see what the implications are and what the options are. I still think it should go to strategic planning, but I think it needs to go somewhere, to one of the committees to have a serious look at this. I don't think, I wouldn't support making a decision at the council level about it right now.
Yeah, I agree too. I have a couple of concerns with it, and obviously Councillor Baswick knows my stand on getting these poles electrified. I've been pushing for that right alongside him. And I guess we're both on the committee, Councillor Baswick, and I'm prepared to come to a meeting at any point and just get this thing rolling, whether it's next week or the week after. I'm okay with that, even though it's a vacation for us. We can have this back for our next meeting. I think if we as a committee just jump on this and look for alternatives or decide that this is the way to go. I just think it's kind of short notice for us to just move ahead, and that may be inevitably what we do. But we're only postponing for 4 weeks, and we, if Fortis can electrify these before Christmas or not, I don't think our next meeting is going to make that big difference. But I'm probably going to vote in favor of sending it back to the committee. But understand, I want these things electrified too. We've been fighting this fight for a long time.
I just see it as a long process. It'll go to committee, then committee will give its recommendations, then it'll come to council, then council will give a recommendation, send it back to committee. It's just not going to end. This thing should have ended when it ended. So if that's what we want to do, that's fine. We'll just work on. We'll see how the vote comes out.
So if there's no further questions, I will call the vote. The motion was to send it back to committee. So I'll call the vote. All in favor? What is your vote, Joyce? In favor? I think that was 4. So that would be carried. Sorry, all those against? So that's carried. Okay, 7.3 under business, 23rd Street improvements. Do we want to have a motion, or do we want administration to address the information they've added to this process that was looked at previously? I guess we'll hear from administration on the updates on this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is, again, as you understand, this was an idea and a project that the Performance Evaluation Committee worked on last year, as assigned by council, and then council deferred it to their budget planning, and then and then sent it back to administration to work on a proposal to, in a cost-effective way, try to come back with a proposal to do something there on that strip, that patch of 23rd Street to help do something better there. And so after trying to see if we could we worked on a few ways of trying to tackle that, and then we finally went back to, after a few attempts with some different things, we looked at having the company that does this type of road in another village and does it quite well and successfully there. And we basically said, we want that. How much to do that here on this strip? And we've worked with them to get this proposal and a quote. And so that's what's before council here, as well as a way to fund it. And the reason we're recommending the Public Works Equipment Reserve is because that's become quite high. And the nature of that reserve, we just felt that's getting kind of excessive, and so therefore there's some funds that we thought could be used for that from that.
Councillor Moore?
Sure, if nobody else will make the motion, I will. I move that council approve the sole source award for the solution provided by Reed on Roads for improvement to the 23rd Street corridor between the CPR spur line and the CPR main line for a cost of $150,000 to be funded from the Public Works Equipment Reserve.
Questions? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. So first of all, I'm not happy about this being considered to be funded through Public Works, for it's a capital project. It shouldn't be through a reserve, equipment reserve especially. We just got a new grader and the price tag on it was pretty close to $1 million, and if something were to crap out, I think during the budget deliberations, it seems to me that it was explained to us that that wasn't too high and that was a necessary thing for in the case of a failure somewhere along the way. And so I'm definitely not in agreement with using Public Work Equipment Reserve to pay for this thing. The other thing I think that is troublesome to me is that this is nowhere on our priority list. It's not on our capital budget this year. It's not on our 5-year plan anywhere. I'm confused about why we're dealing with this at this particular point in time when council hasn't made this a priority. I mean, I know we've talked about it, and there's been all kinds of conversations about it, but if this is a capital project that we're going to move forward with, it should come on our capital, our multi-year plan, and it should bump something else. I don't know, like maybe the East Reservoir, or maybe the library. I don't know, but it seems to me that this is a capital project. It should be on our books for MSI or local government, LGFF funding or something of that nature, and it just I'm confused as to why we're looking at funding it from the equipment reserve. I don't agree with that, and why it's not on our priority list for addressing it.
Ethan, and then Councillor Baswick, you can follow.
Yeah, I can just provide a little clarity there to help with any confusion. So we're simply bringing this because council directed us to bring this. That was a motion that came out from a few months ago back during the budget discussions. We wanted to bring this before summer break, so if council is still interested in it, here's a proposal for how to do it. And again, it's at council discretion whether or not, here's the proposal, it's up to council whether or not they're interested in doing it. Here's a way to do it, and here's also a few funding options to do it. Again, we're not tied to the equipment reserve. If you'd rather fund it from the general reserves, it's either way. It's up to council. We've given some options and we've given a recommendation, but again, we don't have a strong feeling about that. It's entirely at council's discretion.
Oh, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess administration has done such an awful lot of work in this particular project, and whether we agree or not, the dominant scuttlebutt in Didsbury are two things: potholes, which we're addressing, and 23rd Street. everybody's up in arms about those two particular things. One is in hand, and we're doing the best we can on that. We've got to move forward on this 23rd, and for $150,000 is, and it's going to carry us for the time where, as administration pointed out way back, that it'll carry us for 2 to 3 years so we can build up enough funds to do it properly. But in the interim, people are going to be satisfied with a much smoother travel up that particular part of the road. The only question I would have is the part that's damaged goes to the rail track, but there's a little bit just the other side. Would that be addressed as well? It's probably, I don't know, 30 feet on the north side of the track.
I think that's counted
Pardon?
on the other side of the tracks.
No, it's a little part just before the actual pavement. That's still Didsbury. So the parts I know.
Yeah, so the project that's contemplated for right now only goes up to the south side of the main line. So what you're talking about is that small stretch from the main line to the town boundary. That's predominantly still asphalt, very similar to what we see south of the spur line down to 582 in front of the Bilo stretch there. So that's workable from Public Works perspective with our new asphalt machine. So that I do know that there are a few potholes that have developed on that north side, but that's on our radar, I guess I would say. And so for the most part, the asphalt's in reasonable condition over there. And realistically, 23rd Street is just waiting for the development to go out on both sides of that road. That's how that road is going to become the transportation corridor it's destined to become. I don't know if we can afford to do that from an investment perspective. It's kind of a development related sort of investment.
And I'll just speak to the other thing. This type of approach has more life to it than we even had originally thought. That second picture, what was at least informed to me is this type of road after approximately 6 to 7 years. Is that what I took the picture of? Really? That second one.
So it has longevity. Perfect. Just, good.
Sorry, we've got Councillor McCoy has her hand raised. Just going to turn you up here. Councillor McCoy, what is your question or your comment?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm hearing myself back in my face. Hold on. Oh, can't hear me anyways. So my thing is, I think that it shouldn't be up to Didsbury to fund the kind of road that needs to be built to handle heavy traffic 5 days a week, because that's what a garbage landfill is doing, right? And so I'm not sure. I agree that something needs to be done, but I agree that it shouldn't be Didsbury's responsibility. As it is, we lease them the entire waste facility for $1. So anyway.
Thank you. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I wonder if I could ask what funds are available in the general reserve that we could fund this through.
Not me, but we'll
Have to do it through the chair. Thank you for the question. So just over, it's approximately $535,000 available. We get plenty to cover this project.
So I have a comment too, and you're right that it wasn't on the capital budget. However, I'm a little excited that we can do a road project. We can still get one in, and roads are definitely important. I agree that this road needs a lot more work than than what we can afford to do. However, I'm starting to really hear that something needs to be done. And I've long struggled with that because that road needs, in my opinion, I'm not an engineer, but it needs a complete rebuild. I do understand in reading this that there's some sort of an addition they have to put in. Originally, I think when we looked at this, it was around $100,000, but they want to strengthen the surface. Probably the wrong terms I'm using, because but there's some sort of surface strengthening that they do before they lay this on, and I was amazed again at the pictures of it holding up at 7 years. Hopefully, we don't need 7 years out of it before we can get to it. But I am in favor of getting something done, and this is very, in my opinion, very cost effective. I hope we get the same result if this gets approved that village or town is getting out of theirs, because it really seems to be doing a good job there. Councillor Williams and then Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just have a comment. I'm in favor of this as well. That's one of the biggest concerns I've heard from citizens is 23rd Street. They want something to be done. It's not going to be a permanent fix, but I think it's very costly that we could get it done right now, then look in the future with a partnership of maybe to get it done permanently, but I'm in favor of this.
I'm just wondering if Councillor Gore would consider a friendly amendment to have it funded out of general reserves rather than public works equipment reserve.
I would accept that amendment.
Any more questions? And I am looking at my computer, Councillor McCoy. If you were satisfied with your comments, that's fine. We'll call the vote here shortly. Okay. So I will call the vote as amended. All in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you.
Okay, business 7.5, compost level of service. Oh, 7.4, sorry, I did this last time, it's a habit now. Audit and assurance services. I think that administration should probably address this, and then we can have a motion.
Good evening. So each, well, let me start again. I haven't talked all night, so I'm rusty here. So our last agreement with our auditor, BDO, was up, and we had a 4-year term with them. And so we did go out to market with a request for proposal, which is a standard practice and required by the free trade agreement that we are under due to the amount that we would be spending. And so we issued an RFP for a few weeks in June. It closed on June 30th, and we had 3 submissions. We scored each of the submissions, and there were 2 that were closely scored, and the biggest difference between them was the price, and MNP LLP was slightly lower. MNP is a well-known accounting and audit, public accounting firm in with presence in Alberta, and they have strong references as well. So our recommendation would be to go with MNP as our auditor for the 2022 to 2024 fiscal year ends. and an option to renew for 25 and 26. And I can answer any questions if you have them.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. Since you're rusty in speaking, I guess we should ask a few questions of you. Okay, so one of the things that you indicate in the background here is that it's not necessarily a bad thing to be going with a new company because you get a good new look at the books. Obviously, in my estimation, and this is what I'll ask, does it take more manpower to work with a new group the first year in order to familiarize yourself with them and them with us?
Yes, it will be a little bit more work for administration in the first year. However, it would have been a little bit more work this year anyways because we have a new manager of financial services in place as well. So that relationship wasn't there between BDO and our manager. That being said, I don't think it'll be that a significant, it won't cause any, nobody will really notice that it's more work outside of our department. Like it won't cause anything else to go off the rails or anything like that. So it's kind of just part of our processes.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you again. We see that MNP a lot at conferences here, there, and everywhere. So FCM, AB Munis, and even the leadership caucus. There was some literature, and so like they're well known, definitely well known in the municipal world. But we don't see BDO nearly as much. Is that reflective of their exposure?
No, I wouldn't say so. That's probably just the firm's decision to get out to those conferences or not. BDO, this is BDO out of Red Deer that we were using, and they have quite a number of municipal clients in the region, and this is the MNP firm out of Red Deer as well, and so they have probably maybe an equivalent number of municipal clients. So I think it's just how the firm decides to focus their advertising dollars.
Councillor Baswick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. Are you ready for the motion?
Yep, you can make the motion, then I just have a comment. So.
Okay. I recommend to appoint MNP LLP as auditor for the town of Didsbury for the 2022 to 2024 fiscal years, with the option to renew for 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, so the only comment I have, I think last term and all of this term we've worked with BDO, and I would like to say that they did an exceptional job, and the pricing on here is not that far away. I just want to make sure that administration obviously is confident that MNP will do as good a job, and because it's their recommendation and they work with them, I would definitely support that. But BDO has been, I think, a very good partner of ours for a long time. So.
Yes, and BDO, we have a great relationship with them, and it doesn't hurt, like we were saying, to change it up every once in a while, and that doesn't mean one day we won't go back to BDO. So MNP they put together a really strong proposal, and we've checked references. They were outstanding, and so we're happy to recommend MNP. And of course, we do have to let BDO know, which is unfortunate. That's the nature of this industry a little bit. So,
did you have any comments, Councilor McCoy? No.
Yeah, I support it. I prefer it.
Okay, I'm going to call,
The vote then, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Now we can move on to 7.5, which I was so anxious to get to for some reason, a compost level of service. We'll maybe have the new chair of the Performance Evaluation Committee, Ethan Williams, Councillor Ethan Williams, speak to that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, so last Thursday, we met as a performance evaluation committee for the first time this term, and we came up with 2 motions out of that meeting. Provided one-time $50 fee rebate program for backyard composters offered by the town for composters purchased at local businesses, funded by the Waste Collection Reserve, and as well a summer fee discount offered to residents for additional green bins of $15 and a monthly collection fee of $3 on the additional bin.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. In terms of the green bins and the administrative costs for the bins, what is the town's cost for the green bins, and is this covering those costs?
Would that be Craig? Okay.
So to answer your first question, I don't have the number off the top of my head what a green bin costs. It's been quite a long time since we did the big push to move in this direction, but we keep a consistent inventory at Public Works at all times, so we've got lots of them around. And we do the repairs and maintenance on them every year as through action requests. As for covering the costs of delivering them and picking them up, I think that's kind of what we're sort of working at, sort of a concession to allow for people to have easier access to them. It's $35 in the rates and fees bylaw to have a new bin dropped off. And the committee discussed maybe dropping that to 15 as a conciliatory sort of approach to that service, with the 35 remaining for the black bins and the blue bins. So it's hard to say.
Is the other one the service cost?
Yeah. Well, and just to clarify, that's just to have a bin arranged that the person can then return the bin after a few months when they no longer need it. It's not that they just keep it and they buy the bin and it's theirs. It's kind of it's a feed offset the cost of arranging for the bin to be given to them, and then when they don't need it, they can discontinue that service. So.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I guess what I was leading up to is that I don't think it should be the taxpayer's responsibility to cover the cost of to subsidize other people getting an extra green bin. I don't think that it's taxpayer's responsibility to do that. I think that if this needs to be at least a cost recovery, and if the collection fee is $3 a bin, I don't have a problem with that if that's our cost. But otherwise, I don't think that somebody should be getting a green bin at the expense of the other taxpayers in the community.
Amanda?
So I wasn't at this meeting, but I can answer. Was your question what the service cost of the bin was, or the price?
What's the collection fee?
Well, the collection fee and then also the tipping fee of the compost is $3, and that's why we currently charge $3. The $3 per bin is not a subsidized rate, because that's what our current charge is. Only the administration fee in that option is being reduced from $35 to $15.
And just to speak to, the committee can add anything to this, but with regards to a cost to the taxpayers, council had charged the committee with considering a potential way to provide an added compost service to residents due to the high composting needs, specifically with regards to grass clipping and leaves. And as the committee wrestled with that, because there's other things the committee considered, do we bring some added bins that people can dump their stuff off in? Do we do some type of temporary compost collection? Do we, and as they wrestled with some of those things, all of which would have had a cost, a service cost to it, they came up with this proposal as they felt this was the most cost-effective way, and it would put the onus on the individuals as much as possible with a little bit of support from the town. But compared to like other towns and other communities that place a whole bunch of compost collection bins throughout the town, and they do all these other things that has a higher cost and administrative burden, this was something that the committee came up with the intent of having as limited amount of cost, but also as much of putting the onus on the individual as possible with a little bit of help to do it.
Councillor Windsor?
Did you have your hand up first? Oh, sorry. Okay, look that way.
I did, but I don't know who was
Okay,
first.
we'll go Councillor Moore first, and then Councillor Windsor.
I just want to compliment the committee on the long-term solution that the compost bin, backyard composter is, because if people get a rebate for doing that, that's a permanent solution that they will continue to use, and that we can, if we're competing for some green award or something, we can say that, because that is definitely something that we've invested in that is a long-term solution, and I appreciate that. So that's well worth that. The other thing is that putting the onus on individuals and charging them the regular fee actually means that the ones that abuse it from outside of town, particularly with, that dump off, truckloads of stuff, and I have seen them doing that. In this case, everybody will have their own, even if they have a row of bins, it's theirs, and they'll take charge, and nobody else is going to come and dump stuff into individuals' green bins. So I think this is a good solution for the abuse as well, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I disagree, Councillor Moore, and I think that the $50 rebate is a subsidy that the other taxpayers are paying for, and I don't think that's right. I think that taxpayers shouldn't be subsidizing individuals in the community. As far as the green side of it, being green, this council hasn't decided that that's our direction at all. We haven't made that commitment or that statement that we have, and that would be a strategic planning thing that we would address in the fall. I think that the rebate program is a subsidy that the taxpayer shouldn't be burdened with.
One of the, I guess, probably a better question, because I don't have the figure, but I know the last abuse of the compost pile, I think that there was a cost associated with running our compost and leaf, twig branch section, and then it was getting abused. And I can't even begin to think of what the cleanup cost on the latest one was, where the branches were strewn from 582 to our entrance gate at the town yard. Craig may have better insight on that. But every taxpayer subsidized the cleanup of that, and that was just total abuse. So
that was a subsidy of the town, of the staff. It's already being paid. It's not subsidizing individuals who go out and buy a piece of equipment, backyard compost.
No, my point is there's a cost to having a compost pile that every taxpayer is subsidizing, whether they use it or not. There's a cost to the town to run that whether it's labor or pieces of equipment in there to move it, hauling it away, that is a subsidized item already. Because if you're not dumping compost in there, it's still part of our operating cost.
And just to clarify a little, just to help understand where the reserve funds come from that we're recommending be used if council wants to adopt this measure. It's actually not from tax revenues, it's from another source. I'll just have a man explain that.
So the solid waste reserve, it's actually misnamed in the RFD, but it's been built up over time from the solid waste department performing better than budget. So it's from excess user fees basically over the years. So it's not from, it's only the people that have, the residential users of the solid waste system that have contributed to that in the past.
Councillor Windsor?
So just, if I may get clarification on that, it's still the taxpayers that have paid that. There are people that live in town that have that service that paid that. So whether
Yes,
it's a utility fee or whether it's taxes, the taxpayer still paid for it.
Yes, there are some taxpayers that pay for it, but not all the taxpayers that pay for it.
Councillor Baswick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are you ready for the motion?
I am. I'll just ask Councillor McCoy if she has a comment at first. Councillor McCoy, did you have any comment on this? Okay. Yeah, then we can have a motion if there's no more questions.
Okay, I'll recommend that council approve to provide a one-time $50 rebate program for backyard composters to be offered by the town of Didsbury for composters purchased at a local Didsbury business only, funded by the Waste Collection Reserve, and that council approve a summer fee discount to be offered to those residents wanting additional green bins. For the months of July and August 2022, residents may add additional green bins for a one-time administration fee of $15 per bin and a monthly collection fee of $3 additional per bin.
Councillor Windsor?
Deputy Mayor Engel, could we please have those in two different motions, not in the same motion?
Yeah, I think we could.
But before we do that, I just wanted to add, in our RFD, it's just saying for the months of July and August. And I thought that we had a longer period than that they could start bringing in the green bin possibly in May when they're doing yard cleanup from fall. But we've limited it here to July and August. And I thought in the committee we had sort of talked about it didn't really matter what months they were, that they could in fact keep it for 12 months because the tipping fee was the same anyway once the bin is there.
We did talk about going the same duration that is on our pickup calendar. So, which was from, I don't know what, May to September, I'm not sure, I can't recall.
October, well, November, the first week of November. The green bin pickup goes to the first week of November. So you can throw your pumpkins in there after
It
Halloween.
starts when?
So it should
It starts in March, but are you just trying to provide a solution for this year, and then when we bring the utility rate bylaw next year, you would contemplate like the full year at that time?
Yeah, I would agree that if this is just for the remaining balance of this year, again, even though it says August in there, they could, I guess what we're saying is in August, they could still get a bin at that reduced administrative fee. but they can keep that bin until November or whenever the yard cleanups and that are done.
Or as long as the pickup works with our calendars, like if we say July and August, and whoever's picking it up says, okay, I'm not picking up an extra bin in August, we have to match the calendar, what you said, right? So we can't put August in here because I know, for example, my yard, August, September, at least September, I've still got leaves all over the place that I'm putting in. Maybe on 1st of October last year. So we can't limit it to August.
But
Ethan?
And just with regards to the committee did discuss doing this for the rest of this season as a trial run to see how it goes, and then doing it properly, updating the rates and fees bylaw properly with this if they wanted to include that for next year, because they wanted to do this as a thing just for the rest of this year to try it out. So just to clarify.
Well, could I revise that then?
Yeah, I think Councillor Baswick, that even if we don't change the date, the pickup fee is $3.
Right.
And if you're paying the pickup fee, they're going to pick it up as long as your bin is there. We're not limiting how long they won't pick the bin up for, I don't believe.
And
we can revise that,
We
yep.
can make sure that properly reflects.
Like I said, the months of July and August for the remainder of the 2022 season, which would coincide with our calendar pickup.
Well, we can even take out those months and just say for the rest of the 2022 season.
Right.
But I think we're going to do two separate motions.
Joyce? Councilman Woodward?
And then if we're going to do just the first part first as a separate motion, and just a friendly amendment to that, we would just ask that it be the solid waste reserve. That just got misnamed there. It's the solid waste reserve.
Okay, I'll accept that amendment as spoken with the solid weight collection reserve for that first motion. If Lenny, you can separate that for me, to the first one.
So what is the first motion?
To provide one-time $50 rebate aid program for backyard composters to be offered by the town of Pittsburgh for composters purchased at local Pittsburgh businesses only funded by the solid waste reserve.
And that's just for the remainder of this year?
No. That's the next motion.
Oh, okay.
This is the
rely on
compost.
season.
Okay.
This is the rebate.
So one time.
Okay, then I will call a vote if there's no more questions. All in favor? Opposed? And what is your vote, Joyce? Councilor McCoy? In favor? Okay, that's carried. And the next motion?
That council approve a summer fee discount be offered to those residents wanting an additional green bin or bins for the month of July, or no, additional green bins for the remainder of the 2022 season. Is that correct? They may add additional green bins for a one-time administration fee of $15 a bin and a monthly collection fee of $3 per bin.
Questions?
Okay, I will call the vote. All in favor? And what was your vote? You're in favor? Okay, that's carried. Business 7.6, the old fire hall. So this is Councillor Baswick.
I'm ready to make a motion. That council approved keeping the old fire hall as a potential film production resource and to approve the weatherproofing work for up to $15,000 to be funded from the Economic Development Reserve, and that the future of the resource be referred to the strategic planning process in the fall.
Questions or comments? Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. So it seems to me that this is a strategic planning kind of thing, that we don't know what we're doing with this. We've been struggling with this thing over the last 5 years and have still not come up with what it is. And it seems to me that in the strategic planning process that's going to take place in the fall, it will be a time when we will kind of, this council will determine or at least talk about what we want to do with this facility and whether or not we are going to be making it a film production resource or not. And until we make that decision, we shouldn't be spending any money on preserving it. It's been there for 5 years, sitting there the way it is now, not proofed. So I don't know why we're doing this before we have the strategic planning process and making the decision if this is the direction we want to go.
Okay, Ethan, and then Councillor Moore.
Just to provide some clarification, again, as we explained, we know that council needs to wrestle with what to do with this. Due to the severe weather we've had recently, it's taking a toll on it. It leaks, severely leaks, which is breaking down and affecting the stuff that's in there. So that there's something for council to decide what to do with. The proposal is not to make long-term decisions. This is just to do some immediate weatherproofing so that while you take the time to decide what you want to do with it, it's actually still there to be able to be something you can decide to do with, because the resource itself is we fear that by the time you get to making that decision, it'll be greatly, again, this is just if you're interested in even considering being able to do something with it, we recommend doing some of this just immediate temporary weatherproofing. This isn't to make any long-term decisions, but this is just simply to at least protect it so that it's there to have the option for it later.
Councillor Moore.
Actually, I appreciate that. I didn't know it was leaking. So I don't want the stuff inside to be damaged, but I cannot support something that says keeping it as a potential film production resource when we haven't made that decision yet. I absolutely would support doing what we need to do to preserve the structure. And so I would ask that we amend this to say that we would approve the weatherproofing work for up to $15,000 to be funded from wherever. Because we need to keep the building. But I can't support that we put the decision right into this motion. So I'm wondering if I could ask for a friendly amendment just to approve the weatherproofing for $15,000, please.
You had a question. You were next anyway, Councillor Baswick.
Councillor Moore effectively stole my thunder. That's what I was going to recommend. So yeah, friendly recommendation or amendment's fine. You leave out the keeping it as potential production. Just cut to the approve the weatherproofing work. Yeah.
Councillor McCoy, do you have any comments?
While we're waiting, yeah, I remember when we had the tour of the facility after Under the Banner of Heaven was filmed in there, and the one thing that not alarmed me but surprised me was all of the work out there that looked all of the work out there that looked like brick and looked like metal and whatever was actually MDF, which doesn't weather well even inside of a house. So I am fully in favor of spending a nominal amount of $15,000 to preserve that. But I agree, we have to, as a council, decide what that building is going to be or not be. And you're correct that that's in the strategic planning. So I think it is of utmost importance to protect the structure, what we have, and make a decision on what we're going to do with it.
I'm sorry, I'm just wondering, did he make the motion or not make the motion, or did he make it and we're amending it?
Councillor Baswick made the motion, and then he was amending it to take out, while considering it, I think.
I can reread it if you want.
I accepted your friendly.
Thank you.
Do you want me to reread?
Yes, please.
So Councillor Baswick moved that council approve keeping the old, that council approve the weatherproofing work for up to $15,000 to be funded from the Economic Development Reserve, and that the future use of this resource be referred to the strategic planning process in the fall.
So if there's no more comments or questions, I will ask for the vote. All in favor? And what was your, were you in favor or Joy, Councillor McCoy? I still keep reading her name, so I apologize. Okay, thank you. That's carried. Okay, 7.7 under business is the Parkland Regional Library Service. I think I'll have Councillor Windsor address this. He brought it forward. He sits on that board. So, Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I will make the motion to start the whole thing out, and I'll move that council supports opening the Parkland Regional Library System membership agreement with the intent to amend Clause 8.3 so that the population figures Parkland Regional Library System uses for requisitions are the same as the population figures Municipal Affairs uses to provide municipalities with grant funding. And if I may go on with this, is that right now what's happening is that our funding through the grant program through Municipal Affairs is based on a published number on the Municipal Affairs page that it represents the 2019 population figures, which are actually the 2016 census numbers. And so that's the funding that municipalities are receiving. The Parkland Regional Library System are using population estimates that are published on the finance board. It's the finance and governance board that are just estimates. The Treasury branch, that's right, Treasury and Finance, that are just estimates, and the estimates are out considerably, up to almost 600 for the town of Olds, 350 or so for the town of Disbury, and so it skews numbers, and so what we're attempting to do is tie the membership agreement to the funding that the municipalities receive in grant funding, so that we're all working with the same numbers, no matter what that number is and where that number is published. That's what we're attempting to do. Just as a side note to that, Olds and Carstairs passed this motion last night in their council meetings.
Councillor Baswick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm just wondering, Councillor Windsor, if we have a number, a cost number on this per population?
Yeah, it's $8.55 is what their per capita fee from Parkland Regional Library System is. It's the population number that it's associated with that gets all skewed, because if we're basing that number on a population that's 350 greater than what Disbury has, then we're paying more for the Parkland Regional Library System superficially than what we should be, and because it's population estimate.
Is this higher than it has been?
They've gone to, yes, because last in 2021 is when they went to the estimates, And they were planning on doing that. They did it in 2022, and that I raised the stink then, and now they're going to plan on doing it again for 2023 with a 20% increase in the per capita fee, in addition to using the estimate numbers.
Don't you find that a little bit exorbitant, 20%?
Yeah.
So they're going to head anyway without our saying yea or nay?
Parkland has gotten approval of the board, and that's why we're going through this process. You have to understand how the board is set up, because it's a representative from 64 member municipalities. And some of them are elected officials, some of them are members at large, some of them are members of library boards, and not elected officials or members at large. It's a conglomeration of people that don't necessarily understand the municipal funding formula or how that all fits together. The other side of this that's a significant problem is that we have to go to all of the members that have a membership with Parkland Regional Library, which isn't the board that I'm part of, the representatives. It's the municipalities that are members of the public board or public library system. It's the municipalities. So it has to be the councils that give direction to the Parkland Regional Library system, not the board that meets every 2 months.
Okay.
It's the most convoluted, ridiculous system that they have for a library. Yeah, it's so complicated.
So if we're amending clause 8.3, is that acceptance of their increase per capita, or is it something we're going to talk about so we don't get that exorbitant increase?
So that will come back to council when they present their budget in the fall. And what we're trying to do is circumvent it so that they're using real numbers, the same numbers that municipality grant numbers for population, as what municipal affairs does. That's what we're trying to amend it and get that in place so that when they do bring the budget to us, then we know exactly what it is on a per capita basis that we're looking at to support the Parkland Regional Library System.
So we're just going to agree to enter into a discussion here. We're not approving anything or moving this, yeah.
What this is doing is setting the stage to allow us to go to all the members of Parkland Regional Library to ask them to support the change in 8.3 of the membership agreement.
Which is the increase in price.
No, it's the establishment of what they use for a population figure for their per capita fee.
But again, this is strictly, we're going to approve entering into a dialogue here. We're not approving anything yet. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Williams?
Say something.
I just have a quick question. We've reached out to the minister already about paying per capita, have we not? I guess that would be a question. I guess, like, I agree totally with you. We should not pay more than we're funded. But I guess is that the right approach for us to go in and open that up and get that changed, or do we go through the minister of whoever funds this and ask them to not give us the same amount that we're being charged? Like, it's Councillor Windsor?
If I may try to address that. Right now, what Municipal Affairs does on their own website, they're using the 2019 funding numbers, and what they're telling the Parkland Regional Library System is that you don't use those numbers that we publish on our page. We're not going to publish numbers anymore. You use the number on the Treasury and Finance Board numbers, estimates. So they're not even following their own rules. I mean, the minister isn't even following the whole thing through. The other thing is that, as you know, libraries, including the library, the Parkland Regional Library System, run autonomously. They're not tied to anybody. They run their own thing in their own way and everything else. And so essentially, the only way we can make sure that they're using the same numbers, and whether it's the estimates or whether it's the 2019 number, or whatever the population number is, the only way we can make sure that it remains the same as the funding that we receive is based on, is to change the membership agreement. That's the only way we can do it.
And do you think that like the approach that you're taking, can you do that?
Yes.
Councillor McCoy, do you have any comments at this time?
Okay, so,
She's here. She said.
oh, sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, okay, no, I have no comment other than that I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table. On the table? We have a motion. I will call the vote if there's no more questions. All in favor? And I think you, I'm not going to think. What were you voting? Oh, you just muted yourself, Councillor McCoy. Were you voting in favor? Okay, thank you, that's carried. 7.8, RCMP call to action. I didn't see it.
I was going to make the motion.
Okay, if you would like to make the motion, Councillor Williams.
I move that council accept the National Police Federation call to action to the Alberta government as the information.
Are there any questions? Comments? Councillor Winter.
I think that looking at the letter that the mayor wrote back in 2021, I think it's June of 2021, look to find out here, April of 2021, endorsing our support of the RCMP. Does that mean that this council is changing our direction and we're not standing up and being counted? Is that what this is saying?
Very well.
Ethan?
Well, and I can clarify that. No, so the town has made their position on the RCMP very clear to the province. They're aware that this is just, this is the National Police Federation, which is basically the negotiating group on behalf of the individual members of the RCMP. And again, that's all well and good and fine. And they're doing advocacy and wanting to attach names to their advocacy work. So you're already counted. The town's already sent, it's just whether or not you want to be part of that advocacy work and attached to some activist work that they're doing. And they want to grab as many names as they're basically grabbing names on their petition, so to speak, as they do that. But they have their agenda, which again is not, it's just they're actioning on behalf of their members, which is what they should do, and it's just whether or not you would like to be a part of that action. But you've already been counted and made your position very clear to the province.
Yeah, I think I would just like to add that we have made our position clear, and I think that this is a biased group, and I noticed that when I went through the names of the towns and the counties, that no one in the county of Mountain View, not even the county themselves, have signed on to this. And I'm not in favor of it. I think our position is clear. And I don't think we need to sign on to every advocacy group that comes along when we're already supporting that call. So, did you have any comments, Councillor McCoy?
Sorry, I totally agree with you, Deputy Mayor. I think that we should not be going down that slippery slope.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the table. I will call the vote. All in favor? And I see your hand up, so I don't know if that's a question or you voted in favor. Okay, that's carried. 7.9, strategic visioning meeting dates. Councillor Williams?
Thank you. Before I make the motion, I just want to see if we just do a quick round table to see what dates work for everyone, then make the motion.
Sure.
So, Councillor Bassett, do you want to start? What days work for you?
November. No, I'm open. I'm open to whatever date that council agrees on.
Yeah, both days work for me. Good.
I'm open.
I'll absolutely make myself available for either time.
So do we get administration to make the?
Well, there's
Have you
still
got a preference,
earlier
Councillor
and
McCoy? For strategic visioning meeting dates?
No,
You can make either of them work. Okay. Okay. Ethan? I almost called you Councillor Ethan, but
So if it doesn't matter either way, then probably I would guess that maybe that second one, which is the same week as council meeting, since the week before is when we're preparing for the council meeting, and then as long as council's fine with having it during the same week that they have council meeting. That's the only thing I can see is just, it would be, if we had a preference, it'd be not on the week when we're putting the council agenda together.
Right. Yep. So we'll have on the 27th. Yep. Okay, I move that council set Thursday, October 27th, 2022 from 5 to 9 p.m. and Saturday, October 29th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. for a strategic visiting meeting.
we have a motion on the table. All in favor? And Councillor McCoy, are you in favor? Yes? Carried. Okay, reports. Oh yes, 7.10 was added. Letter of support. Thank you. I have it written in here, I just did. Does administration want to talk to this, speak to this one?
Yes, thank you. So we had kind of this come in last minute for, they just found out that they had a deadline, and this is the chamber which you all had put on your desks. So the chamber is seeking some funding to help provide some educational opportunities in Didsbury. And so in applying for those funds, they're asking for a letter of support from the council to do that. Oh, they're not asking for any funds, just a letter of support of them in this initiative. But there's
They're
no
going to
fund.
apply for a grant.
They're applying for some funding to do this. They're not asking anything from us other than just that you support their initiative.
Councillor Moore?
Yes, I'll move that council approve a letter of support for the Didsbury and District Chamber of Commerce to develop a partnership with an accredited college to facilitate certification courses locally. Yes.
Yes.
Do you mind it to say letter support for the workforce strategies grant?
Oh, yes, that's what I said. Yes, the simple motion for the strategy.
Okay, are there any questions or comments?
If nobody's talking, I'll just say that it's really exciting
To see that they're going, the first one that they're going to offer is nurses aid, I think, it's the healthcare aid program. Like if ever there was a time when we need a new bunch of healthcare aides, and the idea that local kids could get this training and go to work right here is just amazing. And all we're being asked for is a letter of support. I think it's awesome.
Okay, if there's no more comments or questions, we'll call the vote. All in favor? And Councillor McCoy, I still see a hand up, so are you still in favor? Oh, 7.10, it's a letter of support for the Chamber of Commerce to apply for a grant to provide some training. You're against? Okay. All of those against? It's carried.
Okay, reports, 8.1. Sorry.
Mike, reports 8.1, the CAO report.
And
Are you looking for a motion?
sure.
Yep, yeah, maybe you can make a motion, and then we'll have Ethan.
well, maybe
Oh,
before the motion, I do have a short little verbal part, and then maybe I entertain any questions of the information in there, and then we have the motion, if that's okay.
I agree.
Maybe what we'll do is I'll open it up if there's any questions about it before I then do the verbal, if that works. Any questions about the information in the
pile of information.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you. Number 8, the pedestrian connectivity master plan. We got a grant. What's the next steps?
So our next step would be to issue a request for proposal for a consultant to come in and prepare the plan. And within that, we specify some expectations of the town, and that would include things like public engagement, council engagement, senior administration engagement. So that's an important piece of this, in our opinion. And that would help define what the plan's going to look like, and then the consultant would put it together, probably have some more further engagement with council, and then we would have a master plan at the end of it to tell us where we need connection on our current pathway system, and potentially what future
Expansion?
expansion would look like.
And is the grant going to cover the entire project?
We expect it will. That was, we had a quote for this project earlier this year that it would cost the $50,000. So we expect that that's what some of these proposals will come in at or under.
Exciting. Ethan?
Can you still roll?
Oh,
You had a couple comments, you said.
oh, no, I have a little verbal that I'll do after the questions about this.
Oh, okay, sorry. Councillor Windsor?
We've applied for an EV station grant. Can we, what is the status of that now?
We're on a wait list
On a wait
for
list.
an EV grant.
Is that through FCM?
And maybe a list. She's doing my verbal, so this is perfect.
Good evening. The EV grant has been forwarded, and the provincial government has responded that we're on a wait list. Basically, there was a greater response than they expected, and we are hoping that they will open up and extend those grants into or renew it in the fall.
Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to highlight something on the report for the aquatics, about 6 new lifeguards coming into the pool. That's awesome. Now we can actually finally return back to pre-COVID staffing levels and schedules. I think that's a huge increase to our community, and I love those service.
Councillor Moore?
Yes, along with the CAO report, I had sent a picture. I backed out of the mayor's back alley because it's not safe, even for my SUV, to go down that alley. There's a big bump in the middle that would take out the bottom of my car, and there's ruts on the side that have a lot of water in them where I would drop down into. I know that our budget didn't anticipate the amount of rain and damage that has happened to these dirt back alleys, clay back alleys, and that the previous grader didn't go down the back alleys because it was too big, I think. But I'm pretty sure our budget doesn't cover improving any of them. But I would like to propose that the damaged, to make them drivable, that we allow, or maybe find out how much it would cost to have a contractor do it. I know that we're stretched as far as resources go, and people and equipment and everything. So I would very much like to have administration be able to deal with this to make the back alleys drivable throughout the summer, and this is our last meeting. So my question is, how do we do that? And I would like to have that done. I think that's an important thing, and we're certainly getting lots of questions about it, at least I am. And my back alley's okay, but.
Ethan?
Thank you for the question. Funny enough, the alleys are on, we are aware of them, and the last couple of weeks we have had our Public Works Department looking at them specifically because of what's happened to them with that severe weather that we've had. And we've been starting out by simply identifying the alleys in the worst shape, and we are undertaking plans right now as we speak to address some of those alleys that are the worst hit, to try to make them better, to do some maintenance there. The alley that was raised with the question, and again, we don't personalize alleys, but the alley in question is on the list of some of the top ones that we have identified and are being addressed with this week. And I don't know, Craig, if there's anything to add to that, but we do have some maintenance funds general maintenance that we do. I mean, obviously, with all the things that we do, it's addressing, and we are going to pull a little bit back from some of the other things we're doing so we can help some of these worst hit alleys and try to make those better. Is that?
Ethan stole all my thunder. But yeah, in essence, we've had a number of complaints from residents, basically areas that are holding water, like little duck ponds and such. So with the lack of grader capacity last year, we found ourselves in a significant deficit. And we did use the grader in our back alleys predominantly, the back alleys we can get to. There's a number of back alleys in town that we still have significant tree growth over top of that would damage our old grader, which we are not comfortable with putting our new grader down, given that it's in a lease condition. So we still need to work with residents to get them to trim their trees before we can start doing a full town-wide approach to gradering. But there are ones with those bathtubs in them that we've ordered gravel for, and we have the grader scheduled to go down. Kinsman Park, the loop around there is a big one. We got another one off 15th on 21st Street there's big puddles, and we're going to go in behind Pizza 73. And Adam and I talked earlier today about half a dozen other ones. So Golf Course Road's another one. But we do recognize that we're in a deficit there. The rain has definitely shown the depths of that deficit. The added capacity in Public Works is beginning to show itself remarkably well. Our summer staff and the additional full-time person with the asphalt machine. So we're getting ahead of the pothole problem. We started crack filling, and we do have plans to hit the streets with the street sweeper here probably at the end of this week, if not early next week. So we're starting to make some headway on the backlog. So the grader is definitely on the back alleys is going to be seen relatively shortly. So
those enhancements council made to our capacity in Public Works, like he says, we're seeing kind of now. It's going to be awesome by the end of the year, the added things we've been able to do because of that. So.
Councillor Windsor?
My last question. Are you taking holidays?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when?
Well, I believe it late. Well,
Tonight?
actually, now I'm wondering if I even want to speak.
I don't think it should be hear it spoken in public.
I'm happy to maybe answer that in closed.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I just realized maybe I should make public announcements when my house is empty, but it's not.
But you are taking holidays?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for sure. I just had an image of my wife swatting me in the head if she was advertising ready to come rob me.
Well, you telegraphed that because of the new haircut. Okay, yeah, Joyce just commented that she's happy with the work that's being done with the additional, the rain that we had, and there's proactive work being done in that regard. You're welcome. So we need a motion.
Oh, just sorry.
Oh.
Just a short verbal.
A short verbal from Alexa, who will just do a little brief update on our, that was requested on our patio, updated patio permits.
Yeah, so we just want to let you know that we distributed the new regulations to all of the related to the patios to all in Milan. Also, okay, let's start over again. So. So we distributed the new regulations that are related to the patio setups, and we are working with all of the patio owners on compliance.
And I'll just do a shout out. I know it's number 6 there, but we are just so proud of Officer Lucas Ron, who fulfilled all the requirements in a very timely fashion and is now a certified CPO1. And just in time for summer, able to enforce traffic violations now. So.
Councillor Boswick?
I'm hoping this isn't off topic, but was there a request made, it's like where Home Hardware is right now, they had a long painted yellow line because they used to have the handy bus pull up there when AG was there. That is no longer required, so that yellow line, can that be over-painted so that it's safe to park there? Because you can't park there or you'll get a ticket. And the handy bus stop, if there is going to be one, is right by where their sidewalk comes out of the entrance to the street. That's where the handy bus would park. So the rest of that block, which is indicated with a yellow line as not parkable, or whatever you want to use the term, if that could be, I was asked to inquire on that.
Okay.
That's a good question.
I got gray paint.
Burning the wheels off my chair. Interestingly enough, that was actually something that had come up in my department because the sidewalks in front of the lot just to the south of Home Hardware are in pretty rough shape, and they were contemplated for a part of the concrete replacement program this year. We didn't press forward with it because there's a depressed curb for what looks to be like a vehicle entrance that's painted yellow with handicap parking signs there. And it kind of needs to come to your guys' table for discussion. My department doesn't set parking spaces or handicap spaces or bus zones. That kind of happens at the council table. So it's in your guys' purview. If you would like that returned back to a normal curb, we can make it so.
Do we have to go through that lengthy process?
Well, this was something that the main answer to your question was just with regards to that, and that's a good overview. This was on the list of things to bring for one of your issues during your strategic planning, to make some decisions on. It's something that does have some moving parts with regards to, do you want to do away with it totally? And I don't know if, I mean, that's a whole discussion whether we want to crack open now, or I guess that's the answer to your question, not that this is a business item right now, but this is on the radar to come as an issue for council's consideration later when they are looking at issues for the coming year.
The reason I brought that up is because a lady had parked there and went in to buy some plants. One of our peace officers gave her a $60 ticket for parking there. So that's why this is coming forward. Now, unfortunately, the $60 she had was going to go to pay for plants. She couldn't do that. In being as fair as possible, Home Hardware gave her the plants that she wanted for that $60, so it was covered. And that's where this whole issue came up. And I think it's just unreasonable to have that whole block yellowed out when there's no reason for it. So anyway, that's where that came from.
Yeah, so I think that probably we need to address that. I don't know if that's performance and evaluation or what that's done, but I think Ethan has identified that as coming up in our strategic planning.
It is. It's coming, well, strategic planning is coming in the fall, but maybe, I mean, again, I'm not aware of the ticket. I haven't seen the ticket. It's hard to speak to the ticket. I'm not aware of all the issues that are related to this, of the problem of parking there or not parking there, because again, this has all just come up, but I mean, potentially, maybe maybe if council wants to at least set a temporary reprieve from parking enforcement on the yellow strip until this comes back, if there's interest from council in doing that. I don't know, I'm just shooting from the hip because this is all a brand new issue to me, so I don't know how much interest there is from council on that, so.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Engel. I think that people probably know the rules of driving and rules of parking. If there's a yellow line and you park on it, you should expect to get a ticket. And whether it's appropriate to have the yellow line there or not is irrelevant. It's there. They need to follow the law. And maybe it is something we can look at, and maybe it can be removed, or maybe there's a whole bunch of them in town that we can remove. I have no idea. But right now, that's the law. And so if she parked on the yellow line, then she deserved to get a ticket.
Okay, can we have a motion? I think, was it Councillor Williams?
Councillor Williams is going to do that.
Thank you, I was just finding the motion. I move that council move to accept the CAO report for July 12, 2022 as information.
If there's no further questions,
I will call the vote. All in favor? And Councillor McCoy? Are you in favor? Carried. Okay, 8.2, council reports. Last time I started on my left. Tonight I'll start on my right, so we would be starting with Councillor Baswick.
Well, being a member of the sick, lame, and the weary for 5 months, 5 weeks, I unfortunately have nothing to report. I missed the meetings because of being away, so, and my next one's tomorrow morning, so that's how it's going.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you. We already touched on the performance evaluation committee, and that's all I have to report.
Councillor Windsor.
On the Waste Commission, our next meeting is July 25th. We have had a few things change out there that you may have seen in terms of the recycling area, that we have this new shredder that is doing wonderful things with concrete and branches and all kinds of stuff. And so it's really clean out there right now. Our next meeting again on July 25th. Heartland next board meeting is September 15th, and at that point in time, we're hoping that we'll be able to present the board with some input from the motion we had earlier. RDR Monk is doing a tour of the Dixon Dam. If anyone would like to participate, it's on July 18th, and I need to let the administration know if anyone wants to join that tour. There's 15 registered, and they have room for 30. So if there's somebody that would like to attend, they can get a hold of me, and I can make sure that their name is passed along. It's a Dixon Dam tour, starting at about 10 o'clock in the morning at the dam, and then there's a barbecue courtesy of RDR Monk afterwards.
Councillor Moore.
Yes, you have the one policy and governance meeting minutes in your agenda. We had another one, of course, so that we could have those 2 items ready for you. And also, although we were rained out of the economic development barbecue, in spite of the rain, and maybe because of it, the Canada Day fireworks were amazing. A friend of mine had his family from Edmonton, and they commented on how amazing they were. So I'm thinking if we could impress people from Edmonton, they were really impressive. So I do appreciate all the work that the guys go into, and I realize that that's quite a technical thing that they do. They did an amazing job, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councillor Moore, do you have any reports?
The 2 meetings.
She just did.
He meant McCoy.
Oh. Did you say work?
Councillor McCoy.
She's colored Joyce.
I don't know. And in the meantime, I had no meetings other than the Performance Evaluation Committee, and we touched on what we talked about there tonight, so I guess we need a motion. Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that council move to accept the council reports for July 12, 2022 as information.
I will call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Under reports,
9, we have a correspondence and information. Councillor Moore?
I move that council accept the correspondence and information as information.
Can we add that we got a thank you card?
And we got a thank you card.
From one of the recipients
Yes.
of the scholarship, so that was very nice.
That was
That's
very
oh,
if you have a comment, Councillor White?
okay, we have a motion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Are we going to refer our council meeting highlights again to our expert?
We are.
We don't need a motion for that. I don't think. Then we have question period. Are there any questions? From the gallery.
Nobody online?
I'll check real quick if I got anything.
No? Then my answers are simple. We have a motion. All in favor? Are you in favor, Joyce? Okay, that's carried. We will go to closed at 8:39, and it was.
Over.
We'll take a couple-minute recess here and reconvene in a few minutes. Thank you for everyone that attended. Did you want? Yeah, while you're